Oh no, not again. Why are my ancestors punishing me? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Why don't they want me to get married?
In the village of Achara, known for its green vegetation, there lived a young man called Obike. Obike is a great hunter, and everyone loves him for his skill of catching big bush meat. Obike and one of the village girls, Amara, have been in love for a long time, and so he decided that they get married. Obike and Amara got married. Their marriage ceremony was so elaborate, the villagers attended in their numbers and in style. After the marriage celebrations, Obike and his wife Amara retired into their house. Night came and it was time for them to go to bed. Suddenly, Amara became confused and afraid. She moved away from Obike trembling. "What is the matter?" Obike asked, but she kept shivering in fear. Obike tried to touch her, but she kept moving away in fear. "Come on, Amara. It's our first night in marriage. Let's go to bed. I know you must be very exhausted from the ceremony." But Amara stood there trembling, not being able to say anything. Obike became confused and kept asking her questions. "What is wrong with you? What is the matter with you? Why are you not saying anything? Why are you afraid?" He kept asking her questions upon questions, but before he could finish another question, she reached for her bag and ran away in the darkness. Obike ran after her, but she was too fast that he couldn't reach her. Amara got to her parents' house, and her parents were surprised to see her at that hour. They were even more afraid to see how terrible she looked with fear. "What is the matter? Why are you here?" her mother asked, confused. "This is your first night in marriage. What are you doing here?" asked her father. But Amara couldn't say anything. Suddenly, Obike arrived there and told them how Amara suddenly became afraid and wouldn't let him come close to her, and how she carried her things and ran away. They kept asking Amara why she behaved like that, and her only response is, "I am no longer interested in the marriage." Amara's mother started crying and shouting, "My enemies are at work. My enemies are at work. They don't want my daughter to get married. They don't want my daughter to enjoy her marriage." Amara's parents, together with Obike, visited their village chief priest to find out what was responsible for Amara's sudden behavior. But the chief priest has nothing to say. Obike was so heartbroken that Amara suddenly left him on the first night of their marriage without saying anything. The news spread round the village. People started calling Amara names. Some said she is possessed, while some others said maybe she has developed mental illness. As time passed, Obike moved on with his life. He got married to another girl in the village, and the same incident that happened on the first night with Amara repeated itself, with the girl saying nothing. This time, the villagers pointed fingers at Obike, and all the young girls of marriageable age started avoiding him. No girl in the village wants to marry him after knowing how the two girls he got married to fearfully ran away from him on the first night of the marriage. Obike was so terrified, and once again he went to meet the chief priest. He insisted on knowing what the problem was. So the chief priest told him that his ancestors don't want him to get married from their village. Obike asked questions. Why don't my ancestors want me to get married from this village? What is wrong with the girls of our village that they don't want me to get married to them? But the chief priest did not say anything again. He just said, your ancestors don't want you to marry from this village. Obike was so disappointed and heartbroken that he just went on with his hunting life. Obike's friends started getting married, settling down well with their wives and having children, leaving Obike behind. One day, one of his friends suggested to him to find a wife from another village, since the chief priest said his ancestors does not want him to marry from their village. Following his friend's advice, Obike got married to a girl from a neighboring village. To his greatest shock, the same thing happened again. All women running away confused and afraid in the middle of the night without saying anything. At this point, Obike concluded that his ancestors does not want him to get married at all. Obike continued with his life, hunting and selling bush meats. He would go to the markets in other villages to supply bush meat. One day, as he was in the market in a very faraway village called Ekwe, he overheard a girl talking. He turned to her direction. It was a very beautiful young girl in the midst of her friends at one corner in the market. What drew Obike's attention to her is that she was telling her friends about her adventure in the bush and how she tricked a bush animal and caught it. Obike was very captivated by her story, and after her friends left, Obike approached her and they began to talk. I am Obike, a hunter from Achara village. I usually come to this market to supply bushmeat. The beautiful young girl also introduced herself as Nkiru. Nkiru is a very beautiful and strong girl who has the heart of a warrior. She would always go to the bush to catch bushmeat for her parents. She is loved by everyone for her bravery. As Nkiru heard that Obike is a hunter, she became even more interested in him. They both became friends. Even though Nkiru's village is very far away from Obike's village, he would always visit her and take bushmeat to her. Their friendship blossomed into love. When Obike decided to marry Nkiru, he remembered his experience with his past marriages and he became afraid. But his friend once again advised him to go ahead with the marriage, saying since Nkiru is from a very faraway village, the marriage would work this time around. Obike went ahead to marry Nkiru without telling her anything about his past marriages. That very night of their marriage, while they were on the bed, Nkiru suddenly jumped out of bed, looking at Obike. Obike too was afraid. He jumped out of the bed as well. Nkiru, what is the matter? Nkiru could not talk. She kept looking at Obike and her eyes moving from one place to another, moving from Obike to his side, from his side to Obike. She kept doing this and Obike was so confused. Obike kept asking her, what is the matter? What is wrong, Nkiru? Before he could finish asking the next question, Nkiru flew in fear. Obike, dumbfounded, sat on the floor, not knowing what to do. He kept crying, oh no, not again, not again. What is happening? What have I done to my ancestors that they don't want me to get married? What is happening? What is wrong with me? By the time Nkiru got to her village, it was already done, and she went straight to her grandmother, who she calls Mama Uku, meaning grandmother. Nkiru's grandmother is a very powerful seer. She is well respected for her ability to see the past and provide solutions to problems. Seeing Nkiru, her grandmother knew that there is a problem. Nkiru, my child, why are you here? You just got married. What brings you here? What of your husband? Her grandmother asked. Nkiru started crying and telling her grandmother what she saw. Mama Uku, she said in tears, there is a big problem. You must help me, Mama Uku. Go ahead, my child. Tell me what it is, her grandmother said. Nkiru continued talking. As my husband and I were about going to bed, my husband suddenly became two. As she said that, her grandmother's eyes grew wide. Two? She asked in an astonished voice. Yes, Mama Uku. Two, Nkiru said, trembling. I've never seen a thing like that in my entire life. My husband does not have a twin brother. In fact, he is the only child of his parents, and his parents are late. While Nkiru was still talking, her grandmother went into meditation. After meditating, she told Nkiru to go get her husband. But Nkiru was afraid to go back home, saying she doesn't want to meet with the two identical men. But her grandmother assures her that all would be well. She told Nkiru to go get him, my child. Don't worry, when you get home, you would meet only one man, and that is your real husband. Nkiru, being the brave girl that she is, went back home to Obike. Immediately he saw Nkiru. He got up and said, "You came back? What?" As he was about to say the next word, Nkiru cut him off, telling him to follow her without wasting any time. Obike dusted himself and followed her. On their way, Obike kept asking questions, but Nkiru didn't answer. She only told him that they were going to see her grandmother. When they got to Nkiru's grandmother's place, the old woman looked at Obike straight into the eyes and shook her head. She then told them to sit as she began to tell them what the problem was. Obike, she began, when you were born with a very terrible disease, and all efforts to make you well proved abortive. Your mother carried you to different places seeking for solution because she wants you to get well. One day, she met a witch doctor who promised to make you well, but with the condition that you would be dedicated to a deity. Being so desperate, your mother agreed to the condition without knowing the consequences, and the witch doctor made you well. The spirit of the deity has been following you, manifesting itself whenever you get married and you are ready to build a home. Only the women you married could see the spirit, disguised as a second you. Obike and Nkiru became shocked and trembling. She continued, "This is the reason the women you got married to ran away. You became two in their eyes, and the spirit made them not to be able to talk." Nkiru was angry at Obike for not telling her about his past marriages. But she wants solution to the problem because she really loves Obike. So she asked her grandmother, "Mama Uku, what can we do now to stop this familiar spirit?" Armed with this knowledge, Nkiru's grandmother gave Obike the prayers and rituals needed to denounce and repel the familiar spirits. With determination and faith, Obike recited the prayers, begging for release from the curse that had plagued him for so long. As he finished the final prayer, a sense of peace washed over him, and he knew that the familiar spirit had finally left him. Overjoyed, he embraced Nkiru, grateful for her unwavering support and love. From that day on, Obike and Nkiru lived happily together, free from the curse that had once threatened to tear them apart. With Nkiru by his side, Obike found the love and happiness he had always longed for, and together they built a life filled with joy and prosperity. This is the end of my story. Hope you love this story. Give it a like, subscribe for more interesting stories, and don't forget to share with your friends. In this story, we learned to be brave. We learned to not be in a haste to take certain decisions without knowing the consequences. Desperation can always make us to fall into taking decisions without actually knowing the consequences, just like Obike's mother did. In the quest to get her son well, she agreed to the condition of the witch doctor. And thank God for Nkiru, who is a brave girl and ran to her grandmother for help. And at the end, Obike and Nkiru lived happily ever after. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. See you in my next video. Bye for now.